starting on Master or CCTV.
Yeah.
They would just be doing it as attackers.
Yeah, but let's see the bans.
First operator for Fnatic is probably going to be either one of the hard breachers, I would gather. There it is,
Yep,
Hibana.
there you go.
So actually taking Hibana out instead of the Thermite, as you mentioned, because it's easy to do the impact grenade to destroy the exothermic charge.
Exactly. So first ban from an IP, most likely Doka IP. Oh, Blackbird.
Interesting.
Interesting, indeed.
Could possibly be a counter ban to Nip in particular, or maybe just that or a counter ban to Fnatic. My apologies, but it could also be a scenario where they just don't want to play against it. Mira will be taken out. That's no real surprise there. That Mira doesn't make it past the ban phase.
Well, Mira and Echo has been the main targets from the defensive side for an IP, so it's quite normal for them to take it out.
We're just waiting on the last one. So Fnatic will be starting on defense, and they're going to pick which operator they don't want to really play with for the next 5 rounds. On a map such as Clubhouse, wouldn't be a surprise to see an Echo, wouldn't be surprised to see a Maestro. Can't really consider anything outside of that, but an Alibi. We do know that Nip does play Alibi, so this is not out of the ordinary to possibly take an Alibi out. We've actually seen a couple teams in Latin America ban an Alibi when dealing with Nip, as Nip appears to be one of the few teams that actually runs her and her decoys.
Yeah, I would say Alibi most of the time is just laziness of droning if you need to ban it, because if you drone it out, you most likely know where all the decoys are, and you can tell them to your team, and they are not doing anything. But if you're lazy on the droning, Alibi can be pretty destructive. So
a good gun to boot. In addition to that as well, you have access to the impact grenades as well. She's a very good roamer, but a lot of times teams will often run Vigil in place of Alibi because he, at the moment, appears to be one of the best at doing his job of pure roaming.
Yeah. Well, there we see the 6 pick coming in. It's Montaigne for WAG and Maestro for the Fnatic. And it's going to be the cast room / server room.
So you were right about the site. You were just
wrong about the team.
Wrong about the team, but that's but that is okay. Monty is currently the most, I guess, applicable shield operator that we see in the game. It was Blitz for quite a while, but I feel like Montaigne has come back in a big way. But there really wasn't many changes to either of them. So it's always one of those things that is a bit, I wouldn't say confusing, but it's always really interesting with the fact that Blitz just all of a sudden one day just isn't getting ran as much as he used to, and now Montaigne is back in a big way.
It kind of makes sense because Montaigne is a moving drone pretty much. If you have a like IGL or someone who's really good at calling, playing the Montaigne, he can relay the information to his team. Where are the enemies, where are the gadgets, all that information. Whereas Blitz, you need to be more careful, and also we have problem with the Blitz shield that it's not predictable. Sometimes it leaks, even when you're facing the enemies, so Montaigne is more safer pick.
Absolutely. And we'll see how he can get used here. Now, this position that we see Magnet currently playing on the catwalk inside of Garage, he's situated with not just a mute jammer, but also you can see he's got 2 ADSs laying at his feet, so he can't get pushed as easily. You mentioned how crucial it is to fight for the Garage, and, well, here you have it. They'll have to use 1 exothermic charge to open up part of that Garage, which means that the utility that will remain for the Thermite will likely go upstairs on that wall, on the server wall at least. If not, possibly in the Garage, where Rizraz is currently sitting, if they opt to go that route.
Exactly. You need to start from the Garage wall or the server wall with a Termite, because there's always the possibility that your Termite dies, so opening the Garage first is a safe bet. Now he can, well, there he goes, rotates to the server wall, and now it's all about the Montaigne class push to the Garage to try to take it from the enemy team.
One thing that the Alibi ban does is allow us to have both a Maestro as well as an Echo on the board. Rizraz playing in that powerful position by the Garage window will get kill number 1. It's PZD, the sledge will be gone, and here comes the Montaigne being escorted by a drone, but there's 2 to double up on him. There's a Glass positioned at the doorway trying to get a couple shots through those slats, but as you can see, Psycho not able to land what he needs to. He sees the head for just a second as he pushes in, but the Montaigne taking some damage. One member of Fnatic, that's Neofighter, will show himself. And as the Evil Eye overheats, Psycho has taken about 20 damage or so. We see that he's also trying to work away at Magnet, but both Magnet and Rizraz are still up top. The Thermite has worked his way into Garage, and the Montaigne doing as best as he can to try and keep the Glaz from pushing it.
As you can see, the Garage is so crucial. Already 2 minutes spent, and NIP made a mistake with a PCD pushing into the Garage before the Montaigne was there. And there goes Psycho by Rizraz, so this is painful. But really painful for the NIP.
Rizraz gets his 3rd kill, and you can see the Evil Eye now trying to work on the Montaigne. Rizraz will get a 4th on Navog. Last one left is Lion, and Aces with the Evil Eye will steal Rizraz's ace. Fnatic will take round number 1, and always nice to see that as the Lion getting softened up right as the Evil Eye overheated.
Yeah, that's so painful to be alone, alive, when Evil Eye is shooting you to the back. But I would say it all came down to miscommunication with NRP. The sledge, which was played by the PCD, pushed into the Garage or next to the breach wall in the Garage way before. You need to push the Montaigne first to relay the information where the people are, and then take the fire into the Montaigne, and then push with the Glass, then push with the sleds and try to nade the guys from upstairs. Of course, they have the ASDs there, but still, you need to have the communication and coordination to push into the Garage.
And you saw that everything that Nip had stalled out on the stairs of that Garage. I don't think a single member of that team made it more than a step above the very top of the stairs. They didn't even begin to work away at the actual site because the way that Fnatic was playing to push them back. And I mean, the only person who died from Fnatic that whole time was Neophyter, who made the mistake of rotating through the open hole that they had in the Garage wall while the Glaz was in the midst of smoke.
Exactly. And then we go to the master bedroom gym area next, which was quite expected. And this wall is the crucial wall in this map. When you reinforce it, you can pretty easily hold it with impact grenade, because there is that small gap between the reinforcement and the top of the ceiling. So you shoot the pieces out with your shotty, and then you just hold it with impact grenade. It's almost impossible for the attacking team to open up that wall if the castle, in this case, with the impacts, is doing his job properly.
So all designed to waste as much utility as possible, and then of course the deployable shield being there. So if you bandit trick it, you can have somebody on the other side possibly laying those charges down. Now of course there's no bandit available. They're running a mute instead, the second time that Fnatic will be trotting out the mute, an operator who doesn't really get their time in the sun in comparison to others.
Yeah, but mute is, you cannot let mute down. Like, he still denies a lot of roaming, so he's a good pick all the time. We see him quite a bit in Europe, I would say, but not that much in the other regions. But I'm always up to bringing mute on my team, so it's good up. And here we see the Fnatic preparing the cast room. I'm actually surprised they're not even trying to hold the Garage by any means, but they are going to have their first line of defense on the cast room, and now NIP will get the Garage/server room quite easily.
And this is where Fnatic would somewhat fall off, at least concede that entryway point. You can see there's 3 bodies from Nip stacked up. Now we'll be joined by a 4th as the Ash of Psycho jumps down. Magnet losing a couple portions of his health as the Dokubi's DMR just picks away at his foot through the drone hole. It's allowed Psycho to really push in, and Magnet's not going to be fully healed to engage in this fight. 1 exothermic charge will go off. No real opportunity for Magnet to be able to do much with that, and you can see Fnatic is going to completely fall back. It's taken about 90 seconds for Nip to get to this point.
Yeah, Nip is taking way too much time when Fnatic is actually giving them ground. That should have been taking like 30 seconds to take the server and the Garage, and then push to the guys on the server, so they are wasting a lot of time at the moment.
Now Neophyter is the one playing inside a cash room, so even though they've gotten that wall open, they are still fully committed. It looked for a second that Vogue was going to be able to get that last exothermic charge, but these are just on periphery sites. They're fighting over the cash room, so once again, Fnatic keeping Nip at bay, but Psycho is just going to sprint right in, and he's going to get 2 with PZD jumping into the fray. So time management be damned. Nip takes the fight to them, leaving just Aces and Lusty left with a minute to go, but at least it's a smoke and an echo that you can pin your hopes on.
Yeah, they should have, like, they were missing the guy from the workshop, so PCD was actually able to, it was Psycho was able to jump into the workshop and flank the guys in the cash room, got pretty much 3 kills because he also downed the 3rd player, but PCD got the kill for the last one, so really nice play from Psycho.
Just Ash doing Ash things, very similar to what we just saw from Waka in our very first match of the day. Now with Aces having 2 Yokai drones, the 3 deceased members of his team will be able to hopefully relay that info, aiding Aces and Lusty. But 20 seconds, E1D will signal the push, and they're going to be greeted by 2 members in towards Master Bedroom. They're going to sledge away at a wall, and it looks like Aces goes for 2. He'll get them, but Psycho will leave him last alive, and Julio with the cleanup. A good bounce back from Fnatic in the making, but cannot get what they need to do as Nip just using that numbers advantage to storm the gates, and they'll even things up.
Exactly. Those are the rounds you cannot lose when you have the 5 versus 2 situation. You have the dog happy up. You have a sledge coming from the back, so it's no-go for the Fnatic at that point. So nice execution from NIP in the end, but still a bit too much time wasted.
Now, do you think that if Fnatic had fallen off of CCTV a little faster after giving the 90 seconds away that they, or taking 90 seconds away from Nip, that they possibly could have salvaged that round because they kept all those bodies inside of Cache, and then Psycho just killed them all?
I was actually surprised when the Termite started to open the wall. Fnatic just stood there in the cache room.
Right.
They should have fought back to the workshop at least with 1 people, so you have some kind of cover to the guys inside of the cache room. It didn't happen, and they paid the price as a round.
We see another 6 pick from Ninjas in Pyjamas back to the Montaigne. So both Monty picks that we've seen have been complete surprises, and Fnatic is going to have to prepare their defenses without that information readily available. They'll go back to Master Bedroom. Things to change this time outside, anything that you saw in particular, outside of them falling off of Cache faster.
From Fnatic's side, yeah, falling down from the cache faster, but I would also challenge the garage, because if you challenge the garage or you challenge the servers, you are actually wasting the time, so you don't let him come in there fast. So you don't need to like fight for your life in the garage, but just show your presence, shoot a couple of shots, fall back, then stay in server, shoot a couple of shots, fall back. You're wasting time all the time you're doing that.
It's that uncertainty that we've seen from a couple different teams before, where you might try to go for a flank, get a couple shots off, make your presence known, and then fall off. So they have to now consciously remember, hey, there might be someone behind me at any opportunity. Not letting anybody basically have that state of mind, and essentially living rent-free in their mind to know, I always need to check if somebody is behind me. Now, they are once again holding Cache quite heavily, but Nip is not, at the moment, stacking up in that particular direction. You've got a lot of presence on the roof. It looks like they might actually just go through that study or office, as that's where currently 3 members of NIP are, as they all just drone away, but nobody at the moment is pushing alongside these drones.
Yeah, NIP saw last round that the Fnatic wants to hold the cache room quite heavily, so they are trying to go from the other route. But the problem with the stats is that Julio is going with a Termite to the wall that we were talking just round before, and he wants to open that, but it's almost impossible to do it, except that the castle is at the wrong place at the time, so he might actually be able to pull it off.
It actually looks like 3 members of Fnatic that are currently holding inside of the security area, as Magnet will get first kill on the PZD. That's the sledge down. Wog will see the Yokai drone and drop his shield to take care of it, but that appears to be all the remote gas canisters from Lusty. Magnet will get one of his own onto Psycho, as the second Yokai drone will get tagged in and move towards the Master Bedroom. So they managed to bait out 3 of those toxic babes and one of the Yokai drones, but Wog trying to get knocked out. Rizraz will get very aggressive, dispatch Kamikaze. Wog drops his shield to try and get a shot in, but it's an act of desperation. It's just him and Julio, and of course, a Monty in a 1vx scenario when the diffuser isn't down is not usually good for the attacker.
Not by any means. And it's so messy at the moment. Like, NIP got a hold of the office, but they didn't do anything about it. You have the Montaigne just push for the information, have the guys push with the Montaigne, and not fall to the flanks, like we saw in the glass dying.
Now Julio is a great shot. Lusty will take out Vog, and Neofighter dispatching Julio, as Fnatic will answer back in a back-and-forth contest where each team not able to put a consecutive round on the board, and they just collapsed on them. So Fnatic, assessing that the push is going to come from office, they make the rotate about halfway through the round and change it up to push in towards office and try to keep Nip from getting any more ground.
Yeah, and they had the holes from the office wall towards the cache room, so the 2 guys in the cache room they were kind of off position, but they had the angle to the office, and they were able to pick off the glass. You have Montaigne and glass, and that's the two operators you want to push with. But if your glass dies, it's going to be harder because you cannot see through the smokes that you're throwing out with the Montaigne and your glass. So, yep.
And of course, the sledge being the first one to go, not exactly detrimental. Now, we do know that Fnatic will almost always run a Jaeger, so grenades, of course, will, you know, they won't. You can stop worrying about grenades now, as Jaeger would say. So to lose the sledge early on was more just the brute force ability of the hammer to be able to knock down those soft walls, and then of course have the fragging potential along with it. We might actually be seeing a Frost get trotted out here, and indeed we will, as Magnet will 6th pick onto our favorite Canadian trap operator.
Yeah, we will see the Frost trap most likely going to be placed under the windows. And they will have the garage defense again, so they're going to reinforce the garage, reinforce the servers. So this is going to be most likely pretty similar to the first round we saw. And Fnatic is going to hold the garage pretty heavily with 2 people. There might be 1 people at the lounge area, just giving some crossfire and checking that no one is sneaking from there below the guys that are on the balcony of the garage. And then you have the rest of the 2 guys playing near the side of the server wall or the cash room. Interesting. There is no bandit, there is no mute for Fnatic, and that might actually be paying them in the butt later, because Fnatic, NIP can now actually go straight to the server wall, open it straight up, and pretty much start to push either the guys on the server, the cast room, or they will have the angle to the guys at the balcony of the garage, and that's going to be painful to hold the garage when you have angles to the balcony from other way of the map.
Absolutely. And for me, when you're looking at the Frost pick here, the theory behind it, in my opinion, as to why we would have a Frost on the board is to try and bait out the Montaigne. But you can see there's no Montaigne being ran from Ninjas in Pyjamas, which is the first time they're going to attack CCTV without it. Now, by virtue of the way that the site rotation works, you don't. You can go back to CCTV, but you called it absolutely correctly. A lack of bandit and a lack of mute just means that that wall is a freebie. They can just completely take it, and now that's going to mean that all of CCTV is going to have to be vacated by Fnatic. So still, they're going to have to try to work on, if you're Ninjas in Pyjamas, you still got to work on Garage, though, because you still have that window in Garage, which Magnet has control of and can use. The good news for Fnatic is there's no glass, so I don't think Magnet has to worry too much about being shot through those metal panels.
The problem now is that there is Sophia on the field and Ash on the field, so they can go to the server wall at the moment, CCTV wall, and they can shoot the wall between the CCTV and Garage balcony and make a hole there and go shoot the Frost from the hole that they have. They actually have a rotation hole there, but they could make it bigger, move closer to the wall and kill the Frost from the garage, and after that the garage is pretty much free.
Rizraz, who is either playing in Adam or by the stairs, had moved his way towards Lounge and gets taken out of action about 90 seconds in by Kamikaze, the Lion, who will open things up here. You can see Jaeger downed by the Lounge/garage door, and of course that's just a roamer that would just buy time. Usually we would see somebody playing on those stairs to make sure that nobody could possibly push in, but you called it. Psycho just holding an angle just like Vitality would, waiting for 2 minutes for the Frost to pop up, and Magnet just gets obliterated.
And that's the main reason you need to have the bandit on this map. You need to hold that wall as long as possible so that that doesn't happen. When that wall gets opened, you lose the garage most of the time, and that happened again. Now, NIP can just move on from the garage, from the wall, and start their push to the site and for the plant.
Now Psycho, of course, one of the most proficient fraggers in all of Latin America, often overshadowed by certain other Ashe players in Brazil, but can do a lot of damage with that R4C and the speed that comes with it. Currently in a 5v3 in favor of Ninjas in Pyjamas, as they've opened up the wall, they can begin to start their assault. Of course, you've got Vogue holding onto that diffuser. Those ADSs will be in vain inside of the garage. Ace is flashed. He's got the LMG played up, and you'll just see all the utility from PZD will be dumped in. But Aces gets one. Psycho is aware that there's one playing on stairs. Julia will take out Neofighter. Plant going down somewhat successfully, but no, Aces sees him. Aces coming in. Can he get it? 2 big kills from Aces. He sees another. A third. Aces. Oh my goodness. In a 1v1. Ew, he's still got the diffuser to work through. Julio will now watch. And who's going to prevail in this fight? A Sledge versus the Maestro. Any intel from Fnatic right now could possibly be going. But look at this. 1 frag grenade remaining from Julio, and he's priming it on the diffuser. He'll toss it out, and Aces, will he live? He'll get off the plant. The Maestro will shoot away at the walls, but this is a bad position. But Aces, oh my god, how does this happen? Oh my word, Aces a huge clutch, and he'll get the diffuser. Fnatic, my god. What a round.
What a round. To be honest, the plant shouldn't have even gone down, but it went, but he was able to clutch it anyway. What a round.
Oh my goodness. Ace is living up to his name. What a performance in that round in particular.
Aces will actually have to fight for that Aces spot. Which Aces is the better one?
Yeah, Aces from Orclist as well. What an incredible comeback. A round that Fnatic had zero business winning. Massive oversight with the Mutant Bandit not being on the board, as you called it, but they still somehow managed to make it work.
Yeah, that was round for NiP to win, and they just threw it, pretty much. Even in the end, like, I think Sledge had pretty much too much pressure, because if you cook the grenade and toss it to the plant, you get the kill, but he didn't cook it, just threw it there. Tried to play with that he cannot defuse, because you have the 5-second cooldown on the grenade before it explodes, and he tried to push with that, but I think the better call would have been to cook it and try to get the kill, but Aces.
What he shows up. Oh my. So Fnatic now, that's a round 2 that let's talk about motivation here, because I've never played this game at this level. This happens to your team. How much of a boost and an uplift does this carry over into subsequent rounds for you?
Whenever you see your teammate clutching out those amazing rounds, of course it's going to boost the whole team. It's going to bring up the confidence up, and everyone is like, whoa, I want to do the same thing. So yeah, it's a huge thing. But I would even say it's worse than for the enemy team, because that was a round to win, and they threw it. So that's kind of depressing, but you just need to forget it, take it round by round. That's the only way to go forward. So if you're not able to do that, it's game over.
What happened with Psycho is my big question right now. You've got the Ashe crouched by that giant hole that you've opened up in the server wall, on the CCTV wall. You hear this lumbering 3 armor running at you. As the defuse is going down, you've also got coverage inside a garage, and nobody is looking towards the CCTV stairs.
Like, I don't know why the Ashe went to push, because you only need to hold the angle towards the door. You see, like, Master I play that spot. So when the Master tries to come from there, you just hold the angle and pick him off, but you don't need to peek. Sometimes it's too tempting to go for the pick. But now we see the downstairs bomb site. This is that used to be the bomb site to go. It's a lot harder now to hold, because there's a blue staircase added, and teams usually open up the tunnel like NIP has done so far, so they put pressures there. They want to open the kitchen hats, and once they have the kitchen hats, the garage, you can put guys to the blue tunnel as well, and you can do a 3-side push at the same time, and it's really hard to defend that as a defender on the basement bomb site at the moment.
Ace is getting a bit too excitable, throwing his impacts out a bit too early. Now, of course, impacts do 60 damage to 3 speeds, but you've got the Montaigne there. You could have taken a little bit of a chunk of his health away, but threw them a bit too early. You've got Psycho playing this very tight angle, looking through the wooden beams.
And also, I think the impacts were there to deny the kitchen hatch opening, but now they are gone, so they actually cannot deny the hatch anymore. So NIP will have 3 kitchen hatch. They are looking at drones, trying to see if there's anyone below, trying to deny it, but there's no impact, so they will get the hatch.
There was, however, a couple of players from Fnatic playing above inside of Cache, so could potentially be trying to watch the hatch from above. Julio only has 1 exothermic charge left, though. Last smoke will get tossed out, and NiP looks like they can begin to push here.
There's 4 players on the side, so 1 is roaming indeed, but this is the push you want to do with the Montaigne and glass. Smoke it off, push with the Montaigne, push with the glass, and it's super annoying to deny.
So now just as you said, Psycho just takes Ace's head right off. They've also got the kitchen hatch, so very good control at the moment for NiP, and the job of defending will get even more uncomfortable as there goes first EE1D. Psycho will get a 3rd now as he is just in full control. Vog will push into blue and try to keep Fnatic from being able to retake and just barricade them out. Neofighter and Rizraz, last 2 left. Both were roaming though, and you can see one playing at the bottom of stairs. Psycho with a 4th for Rizraz, and this is just a streak of individual performances. Look at Psycho scouring the earth for the final target. That's Neofighter. Will he be able to get it? Now it'll be Kamikaze, and that is NiP with a very strong performance on round number Was that round number 5? And that is the half. That is the first half going 3-2 in favor of Fnatic, though. We'll switch sides.
That's the power of glass right there. When you have the glass and you have the smokes, you can do that. You smoke it off and push inside of the smokes and just pick the defenders out one by one. And you know Psycho is playing the glass. He always does. So you might want to think about banning it. Although, I got to say, they didn't play glass against us in Valencia at all. So maybe this is the key they needed.
And I've noticed that they'd actually taken Psycho off, because I mean everybody at least that I know that watches Black Dragons will recall how Psycho did as Glaz during that Season 6 LAN finals. He was just tearing everybody to pieces, showing the power of Glaz. Of course, now Glaz is a little bit more recoil and kick with his gun, but I believe a faster fire rate to trade it off. And of course now the Evil Eyes are more of a hard counter for Glaz, or at least somewhat of a counter to him. But he's been playing Ashe, and he's been playing other more utility-based operators, at least over the last little while. It's nice to see him back on the Glaz, because I think a lot of people would probably put him in the upper echelons of Glaz players, if not the best overall.
Yeah, and it's working, so stick with it. Now we go for the Master Gym from the NIP side. This was the second best side for a lot of teams before, but now that there is the impact rate realized for the teams, this is for some teams to go to side, so I'm not surprised that they actually started from here. They will go for the cash room like Fnatic did, and I'm actually interested to see if they're going to try to hold the garage, or if it's going to be a freebie for Fnatic.
I mean, you called it right. You did call that when Nip would go on the defense, they would start here on either Master or CCTV. Supernova coming out for Vogue on his Echo will be not outside of the norm. I mean, with Mira being banned, you usually need that second Destructor, right? A lot of times, mentioned it in the very first match of the day, that a lot of times the Bailiff from Maestro can work in a pinch. Of course, there would be no other real caliber-based destruction from the defense outside of Vogue's Supernova, because there is no Maestro on the board, and then of course Psycho's impact grenades are likely going to be used to stop that thermite charge, as you mentioned.
Exactly. Personally, I feel like if you need the second shotgun, it's usually for just a couple holes, so impact grenades can do the same thing, or you can do it with the Maestro or with the Valkyrie Deagle. So the shotgun for Maestro, Echo, is not that good of a pick, because the MP5 is still with an ACOG, so you can actually challenge those long-range angles to strip lock the roof or from the server window. So I would keep with the MP5, but it's personal preference, and they made the holes with the shotty, so maybe they feel they actually need it. But yeah, here we have Fnatic taking the CCTV server side and doing the push to the cash room. So nice shot from ACs from the workshop window. And this is the angle you need to have. And oh, that wall is not reinforced. That's going to be painful, because now they have the angle towards the CCTV, and there goes Kamikaze by Magnet. So 2 frags already from Fnatic. This push is working really nice, and PCD is super low on the HP at the moment.
And there's going to be another now. Psycho comes up, but there's 2 from Psycho. He's fragging on both sides of the field. Rizraz and Lusty, the Thermite and the Zofia. Now, the Thermite being gone is going to be a thorn in Fnatic's potential side, depending on whether Lusty was able to do the renovation work that he needed to do to get towards the site. PZD looking for a reset, and there he goes. He'll get it through the through the drywall.
You can tell he didn't have the white lines on.
Some players not playing with player models or player outlines on, just because of distractions, some would say, and that's why there does tend to be an interesting amount of possible team kills, and people wonder why, and it's because sometimes you actually don't have those outlines on.
Usually fraggers play without the outlines, and the IGLs or callers play with the outlines on, because you can actually see your whole team.
Right.
So that's pretty much how it goes. So you have 2 kind of people in your team.
So final 30 seconds of round number 6. The first round of our second half here. Fnatic holding a lead, but PZD holding an angle onto the window. Just threw the bomb in the bedroom. A grenade will sail by, though, and take out a chunk of his health, just a tiny bit. He'll try to return fire, but that carbine will just bobble over the head. Psycho jumps out, gets hit by a Claymore, but takes Aces down. And Rizraz from the grave will get 1. But it puts us at a 2v2, and the time running out right now. Wong picks up a double kill to finish the round and will equalize, putting us at 3v3. Look at this. He doesn't need that MP5, as you suggested, when he has the Bearing 9 to do it for him.
That's also a perfect lineup for him. So when the time ticks down and you jump in from the same window with 2 guys, that's a possibility. So maybe you take the other window and I take the other window, so we actually don't get light up, but that happens.
And they were playing Vog in a position where he could only take really closer range fights. And I mean, if you're not going to be running the ACOG, then you might as well put it in a close quarters scenario, because the Supernova is not a bad shotgun. We don't often see it for its, you know, killing potential. It's usually just there for the ability to create rotate holes, etc. But the Bearing 9 is a pretty lethal weapon.
Bearing 9 is really lethal. It's pretty much SMG 11 or 12. Not quite there, but just falls a bit under those. So you can actually make a lot of plays with that. And the shotgun, like you said, it's one shot to the body from close range. So if you play a perfect position, you can actually take down players quite easily. This is actually surprising. NIP goes to the basement as a second side and not for the cash room. So is it all too off throw Fnatic, or do they actually feel that this is the better side than the cash room?
Now, you touched on how the staircase into blue has made holding the downstairs much more difficult. Is it just simply that there's too many areas for them to cover? What are your exact thoughts on why that has fundamentally changed the downstairs side? Because that was the only change to the basement.
Yeah, like before, if you wanted to enter the blue area, you had to go from the garage and walk through that long tunnel.
Right.
Or you had to drop from the hatch, which is really painful because usually there used to be a mirror window watching that hatch. But now when there is the staircase, you can pretty much just walk through the staircase and take control of the blue. You have Sophia's stun or Ash to flash or whatever. It's pretty easy to actually take the blue control. So once you have the blue, you have the angles to church, to armory, and you get a lot of angles covered, so you can make your push either from the church, from the dirt tunnel, or from the kitchen hatch after that.
And also in conjunction with the fact that Master as well as the cash room are much better to defend than they were, it's kind of pushed down its priority as one of the defensive sites, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, we will expend about a minute of round number 7. Ninjas and Pyjamas going to see how well they can do on defense. Right now, it has been a defensive-sided affair. 4 of the 6 rounds have gone in favor of the defenders, and if you're NIP, you are hoping that trend line will continue, because we'll give you the victory on the map. You've got Vog playing downstairs, and he's got a yokai drone there scouting alongside with Psycho.
And Kamikaze is actually roaming on the cash room area, so they have the Vigil to actually deny the drone power of Fnatic, or just messing up with their heads that Vigil might be roaming. Is it downstairs? Is it upstairs? That's kind of hard. But how are they? Oh, nice C4 throw from Julia to take out Magnet, and there goes Julia for a Neophyter. This should not happen. You don't allow them to just walk into the site. This is pretty much a free plan for Fnatic at the moment. Kamikaze takes out Raz. And there goes Kamikaze by Neo. This is just a shootout.
They have complete control of the back of Arsenal room at the moment. Psycho trying to take out the Capitao. He will. Neo Fighter with the 2 kills for Fnatic will be no longer. That leaves Aces and Lusty last alive. Now, they had full control, but the diffuser was nowhere nearby. Of course, that's Lusty, who's currently pinned down in Dirt Tunnel. You can hear a couple shots are being fired towards his direction. Aces is in sight, though, and I don't know what Lusty is trying to do. They know that the yokai drone is in play, as Lusty had just seen it. They still got 45 seconds, so this was brisk by Fnatic.
Yeah, they had the control. They have a guy below the kitchen. They have a guy in Dirt Tunnel. They had the guys in blue, and at the Arsenal room, just go in and blend. Maybe he was scared. He was missing some information or the call to come in and blend. Maybe it was miscommunication, but he should have gone into the site and do the blend.
And they can get the plan off at any point, but wary of the holes from above. Lusty will crouch walk his way towards the bomb. He can begin to plant at any point. That defuse can go down. Ace is just standing right by, and there we go. There goes the plant. If the yokai drone is still in play, this can be huge, but Aces will have to cover for the rotate. The Thermite of Lusty getting down. Aces sees one, goes for a shot, but can't land it. He's tagging a lot, but cannot get the kill he needs. Defuse is successful, but Lusty will be obliterated by PZD, and then Aces will get finished off as well. So Fnatic's post-plant coverage not up to snuff. NIP will take the lead for the first time today after a very odd rush into the back of site by Fnatic.
I actually think the Vigil was the reason why Fnatic was so scared, because they tried to drone the Vigil all the time, but they couldn't find him. They only saw that the Vigil is somewhere around, so maybe they thought that it's either in the dorms, mastery, gym, or kitchen area. Because when Lusty actually went to the plant, he was scared. You could see it. He tried watched the hatch, he watched the holes made next to the hatch, and that's the place you want to actually plant, next to the black cabinet. But he was too scared to do it, so he had to pick that like bad spot to plant. And it was after that just easy pickings for the NIP because they knew both of the guys are going to be in the corner. So easy retake.
Easy retake indeed. And I don't know what the hesitation was from Lusty, though. You know, Aces was firmly in sight. He had control. They had the back of Arsenal. Now, they obviously knew that somebody was going to be rotating to blue, and that was the right call. It was PZD playing as the Ella had taken control of blue, and at that point you needed to because, I mean, where else are you going to go? You can't stack 3 bodies inside a church.
And now we see a Capcan from Psycho. This is like the other team plays first, and the other team plays Capcan, so... interesting picks coming out from both teams. But I get to say, this is, I want to see where they use the Capcan because there's not that many doorways you can actually use it properly or windows. So they might put them in the lounge area to actually get some information if someone is coming from there, or to the mastery side like he's doing to get some notice if someone is walking there, so that they will hear the explosions and get the early warning that someone is coming from that area.
Also, one thing to make note of, and spoilers ahead, so plug your ears if you don't want to be spoiled. For the first time in Rainbow Six history, the organization known as G2 can successfully claim that they have won a map, as G2 is currently up 1-0 at the moment. They are 1 map away from advancing further on towards their goal of possibly making the quarterfinals. I don't know. I don't know if they want to make the quarterfinals. That's up to them.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard comeback for Mogit in that game to try to crawl it back when you give 1 map ahead for the G2. But yeah, let's get back to this game. We have the site set up now, and we will see Fnatic attacking from the garage side, so they will push for the cash room garage area. But there is PCD holding a garage balcony, and this is what I was saying. If you take this area and just deny the drones, deny the information, just burn some time. You don't need to actually fight for it. Just burn time as much as you can.
PZD in a position where he could go for a great shot there onto Lusty as the wall opens up, but cannot connect the kills he needs. Or Magnet, my apologies. From outside of the garage, Neofighter will get stunned from the Yokai drone, and it does look like they may have lost the Yokai drone, but there's still one in play in garage, and Vog will move it back up to the top, but have a bit of a difficulty sticking to the ceiling.
And here we have Capcan also roaming in the launch area, so the Lonely Jaeger actually has a support from the launch area, so if these guys from Fnatic tries to take the garage, Capcan will rush to the launch area, launch door, garage door, and shoot them with a crossfire. And here comes the Termite, tries to open the wall. There is Bandit, but he's not ready to chuckle, so... oh, he actually is, and there it goes.
So a good juggle, and Julio successful. They've also lost Magnet, now Neofighter down as well. Nip is in a great spot to put themselves on a match point here. Is just over a minute remains in the round. Aces, Rizraz, and Lusty in a 3v5 and an unenviable position of trying to figure out how to attack Garage as PZD still there. He'll see one and a great shot. He'll thread the needle and Aces is gone. That means Rizraz and Lusty, last 2 alive. Nip poised to strike.
If you have a Sophia alive and you have a Termite, you want to open that wall before you have the garage. You need to put the Sophia, and there goes Sophia down. He will pick himself up if he has the time, but the eco drone will give the information from the Eager, and there he goes. PCD taking the double kill. Nice play from PCD, taking 3 kills in overall in that round.
And a good start from Fnatic has faded as Nip is now just firing on all cylinders. They are 1 round away from taking map number 1. And pushing us onwards. Now, like I said before, this is a rematch from the 6 Invitational. Now, Fnatic is doing a lot better. They've won, I believe they've won more rounds in this matchup alone than they did against the team that was known as Black Dragons, but I honestly do not have the information in front of me in regards to exactly what it was, but I do know it was a pretty big drubbing. And even though at the time they were known as Mind Freak, they made it to the quarterfinals after beating Team Liquid in the group stages. Interesting to see how they stack up against Ninjas in Pyjamas because they haven't really had a lot of experience playing Brazilian teams outside of these international events, and their record is mixed.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of experience playing any team outside of APAC region.
That is very true.
All the stats we have is from the APAC games, so it's really hard to judge their team. Is it good or bad in international events? So this is the place for them to prove themselves. But yeah, back to the last round where the Sophia and Termite was. trying to open that on Lonely Termite was trying to open the server wall. You can do it with Sophia, but you need to put the Sophia to the drone hole. So you rappel next to the drone hole and you shoot the stun grenades from the drone hole to deny the bandit juggle.
Right.
And that way you can actually deny the juggle and open up the wall, but they didn't do it, so bandit had an easy juggle there.
Julio just literally popped right in, bandit tricked, and then got out of there. And of course, it's much easier to bandit trick that thermite if you've only got one of two tiny walls in front of you, which is the case. Obviously not as difficult as it could be on a larger set of panels on, say, Consulate, for example, when you have to deal with the 3 garage panels. It's a bit simpler here, so. But Ninjas in Pyjamas now, with the way that the rotation works, they're going to be in Master Bedroom. And of course, they have won every single defensive round. The only 2 offensive victories have come from NIP in rounds 2 and 5. Outside of that, it has been all defense all day.
Yeah, this looks pretty similar setup as we saw last time. They do have the smoke, they do have the echo with the shoddy. So they're doing similar setup. They actually tear off the top part of all the Termite walls to actually have the impact trick ready for every single wall Fnatic might want to termite charge. So really good play from NIP, and it's match point, so the pressure is on Fnatic.
And important for Psycho to hold on to those impacts. Now, it looked like Lusty spotted that Valkyrie cam, and indeed he did. It gets taken out. So they know that there was a Valkyrie cam playing inside of the CCTV area that will no longer be there. So PZD will discover as he goes on. There's still a second. It's just facing a different angle, looking in towards Cash. So they still have some intel available for them. The other one is outside. Just a great angle on the roof. And NIP has been jumping out of windows, or at least in a couple rounds, prepped themselves to jump out of windows, and this is no exception here, as PCD could be able to just hop out and get a kill if somebody decides to push Master or Gym.
This camera will be really crucial in the late round if it gets there, because usually late round people jump in from the Gym window and the Mastery window, so you will get the early warning that there is people near the windows or jumping in from the windows, and you see if there's claymores or not, so you can actually do your jump out yourself. So that's really nice camera from PCD.
It also looked like they might have just gotten one of the exothermic charges. I can't exactly tell, but there you go. Psycho's going to jump out, and Ace is done for, and that's the camera, as you mentioned, not even necessarily in the late round, as we're only halfway there.
Yeah, you saw it there. There's no claymore. The Valkyrie keeps the information. Thatcher close to the windows. Jump out, kill him, easy kill.
Just misses. A C4 gets tossed through that unreinforced wall towards Workshop, where Rizraz is playing, but there's no damage that needs to be worried. Rizraz will remain unscathed.
And the clock is burning down all the time, and we see Magnet doing nothing. He's just looking at the wall. He's not even droning, so that's interesting. Maybe they're talking to the team what they actually want to do, and this is what you need to do as an IGL. Command your team, have a plan, and execute. So that looked like a moment where he's just telling his team what to do.
And this is the time to do it. I mean, they do have a tactical timeout that would have been available to use before this round, likely saving it for a more dire scenario should they find themselves facing a, serious point against them in map number 2 or even map number 3, depending on how this goes. But you mentioned the clock burning, and indeed it is. We're at 30 seconds now. And look at that. They're just waiting to push in, but once again, Psycho in a position to possibly strike through the window. This camera being oh so critical, but they will double up on him, and Psycho will not last too long, as Neofighter will get credited with the kill, as a bunch of bullets will hit, and now the bathroom is going to be the point of contact. Vog on a flank will take out Rizraz. That's the Echo trying to get into sight, and he's there to greet everybody who goes in through the window, but Magnet, the IGL, will do most of the work. He'll try to take one out, but it's NIP with PZD, 2 big kills, and that will be the match. Or that will be the map. And we'll move on to map number 2 as Ninjas in Pyjamas takes Clubhouse by a score of 6-3.
Really nice hold from NIP, and that camera was so crucial in the end. They got 1 kill from it, and then they saw the push. They saw the 3 guys are next to the Gym window, next to Mastery window. They know that the push is will come from there, because there's only 1 guy missing. He's probably somewhere cast or Workshop, so easy flank for Echo as well, getting the kill to the lonely guy, and then just trying to flank the rest of the guys, and awesome round from NIP.
So